We are joined today by Michael Carman.
Thanks very much, Jake. It's a pleasure to be here. Around that same year, Chris was doing the Oz picture.
One of the movies I'd really love to talk to you about is Day of the Panther.
It got a release, and then it didn't.
Okay.
And now it's it's been reborn as a bit of a cult picture.
The next film I'd like to talk about is Hercules Returns. And because we're all big fans of that movie here. Yeah, no, I even told Ewan, who's my co-host, I said we were doing that film and he absolutely jumped with excitement.
It took a while for Hercules to take off, in a way.
Yeah?
I think it got a release, and then it didn't.
Okay.
And now it's been reborn as a bit of a cult picture.
Comedy roles and drama roles. Do you ever feel, in order to express your character or express your performance, that comedy gives you more options because it allows you to sort of be silly and use more body language?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Actors are basically models, and they're hired because they have a bag of blood and bone that sort of looks right, whatever right means, but looks suitable, and they have a mind part of which contains a sense of humour. Now, I think a sense of humour applies anywhere. You can go to a funeral and crack a gag to people around you and stuff, and it's not taken badly. So I don't think, I mean, in any dramatic piece of work, of course you can suggest or imbue your character with some sort of humour of some kind, tempering it a bit, not going overboard into sort of slapstick.
Yeah.
But I tend to prefer either, really. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
In comedy there is tragedy, and in tragedy there is comedy, so it's a mixture.
Earlier you were saying with your characters you try to find stuff about you that you can sort of relate to the characters. Is there one thing about Sir Michael Kent that you feel is relatable and that you put into your performance?
Well, I can't remember how I did that, but I was young, and I was probably too young to be playing the corporate boss of a cinema chain. But David Parker didn't sort of mind that. He probably saw in me a nasty streak, which was applicable to that character.
Miss Mackenzie, I find myself in a particularly foul mood. Send somebody in I can fire.
Yes, sir.
To that bloke. There had to be a villain in that picture. The other three characters, Mary and Bruce and David, were the sort of heroes in a way. I like the way that sort of worked, particularly, David's character, David Argue's character, where he sort of, gets sacked.
But I resigned.
And then finds an opportunity. Yeah, I sort of based it on bosses that I'd worked with, in other jobs.
Yeah.
Not film jobs, just, like when I was a waiter or was in a restaurant or the boss of a movie theatre that I was an usher in. Those sort of things I just remembered and stuff. But I think it's sort of easy to draw on the unpleasant things, and it's easy to draw on the really nice things. It's very hard to draw on that middle area. A bit like playing high and low status roles. Very easy to play a beggar, and it's very easy to play a king. But it's hard to play someone who's a prince or someone in the middle, and that's where romantic leads and the sort of straight leads are effective. I couldn't do those roles. I mean, it's a good thing that the film has lasted longer than Raw Deal, or lasted longer than some of the stuff that gets made. But we have to give credence to the people who started that act. Des and Sally, who used to do it live in a picture theatre with microphones up the back and do all these mad voices. I've had the pleasure of recording a number of books for Audible, which is an audio book company. They do all the releasing of these books and things. And in those in those jobs, you're asked to, to research the book, read it all, and then mark it all up, on your computer or however you do it, and do all the voices.
Wow.
And the 5 or 6...
Written by Peter Fitzsimons, read by Michael Carman.
All of those books, we don't have the luxury of paying a group of actors to do it as a radio play or to do it, to do all the... So I had to do all the voices and things, and sometimes there are women characters which you have to do. Now, you can't go into that sort of territory, so you have to sort of lighten it a bit or shade it a bit. In the Irish story, the Catalpa Rescue, there were 5 or 6 different regions of Ireland that I had to try and differentiate between the counties and stuff and things. So those sort of things you have to, you have to work out, and I guess if you're lucky enough to have a reasonably versatile throat, you can, achieve that variation. Luckily I've got a little bit of a throat left to do it, and I can, you can sort of... The accents are the thing, and of course nowadays it's incumbent upon most of the Australian actors who want to work on big films here is to sort of master the American accent, which I think is slightly eroding our own film culture, because when it comes to doing our own characters, most of those actors are busy doing American accents up in some Brisbane, farmhouse.
Yeah, because you were in a film Winchester, and that was directed by the Spyrig brothers, and they did a lot of Australian films, and now here they are doing a California-based.
Winchester was done with Dame Helen Mirren, and she's an icon.
Yes.
She came into the read-through, the table read, and we all sat round, and she just read this thing with an immediate... Well, of course, she's had so much experience doing other things, other sort of roles and stuff, some of which involve accents, American accents and stuff. I had a small part in it, and I didn't have much to say, but... they are very, very careful about accents. The Americans can detect a syllable out of place, and then they'll say, no, do it again. The rhotic R, which is, very prevalent in American accents, and the R is always pronounced. Well, I was saying 4. And she said, no, Michael, it's 4. 4. So I did 4 about 400 times.
Please wait in the library, sir. I'll call for Mrs. Marriott.
You've worked with Jodie Foster on Nim's Island. You've worked with Dame Helen Mirren. Do you ever get starstruck when you find out that you're in movies with these particular big names?
Maybe. When I heard that she was coming, I begged to be, considered.
Wow, beautiful.
And the agent I had at the time managed to get me an audition, I think. Yeah, I think I auditioned. I mean, nowadays, it was before COVID, and since COVID, the whole audition process has changed, and we now have to do our own self-tests.
Hello, I'm Michael Carman. I've been an actor for 48 years now.
Okay.
And that becomes a little bit arduous, particularly if you want to get the job. And so you've got to rig up your living room or something, or you've got to pay for places to do it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas casting people had their own office, their own cameras, their own lighting situations like this, and they would do it. You'd go in, you'd do your test, they'd consider it.
Yeah.
So I begged to be considered, and I fortunately got cast as a pirate character, as the ship's captain.
Yeah, the captain of the Buccaneer.
I'll never forget that night, Jake, because I did the test dressed to absolute the extremes on my bike, riding to a casting place in South Melbourne, Mulliner's Casting, and I had the scarf on, I had a patch over one eye, I had gumboots on, I had the whole bloody lot. Yeah. And I did the test and things, and that was it. And I rode home, stopped at the supermarket, parked my bike out the front and forgot to lock it. I came out and the bike had been stolen.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I was furious.
Jesus.
Right? Yeah. And I walked home, tore this ludicrous outfit off, and thought, well, that's the end of that. And lo and behold, they rang some time later and said, I'd like to offer you the role of pirate. So that made up for the lost bike.
So there was some good and some bad that day.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Did you ever get the bike back, or...?
No.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
No, but the residuals paid for a new one.
A better one?
Yes.
Fantastic. Is there anything you would like to discuss before we wrap up?
I just hope that we can enthuse writers and to continue creating stuff that is applicable here and not to continue to treat Australia as a sort of convenient backlot. You know, I mean, we should be making stuff that's just as important. We should be making stuff about older people, the dressmaker.
Yes.
The writer of that book and that series of books was one of them. She's now in her 70s and stuff, and she's amazing. She's vibrant, she's writing, she's still interested in stuff. I think just writers, directors who, you know, don't only want to do television, but writers who you know want to write stuff on a sort of bigger screen are really starting to wither on the vine a bit, and we need to encourage them more. I don't know where they are, but they ought to be encouraged more, I think. You know, every idea you have, everything you see, you go, oh, that could make a movie. And I mean, I read a book recently, a 100-page book called Napoleon's Beekeeper, and it would be, the only problem is, of course, you know, this would make a great movie, but where do you get the money?
Most Australian companies and everything would want to fund the American stuff as well, or the overseas.
Well, the American stuff is now, you know, is even more expensive to make. So you've got to go out begging and begging money. And then they say, well, who's in it? What's the return? Well, they can't say me. They can't say Michael Carman because they don't know who he is. But they'll say, well, Russell Crowe or, you know, whatever, because they're bankable.
Yes, exactly. That's sort of what our podcast is about. We want to sort of get people familiar, or use it as an archive to show all the stuff that we've done in the past as a country in our film industry. So
Sure.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show as well, because you just popped up in a lot of the movies we wanted to do.
Yes, well, we can talk about many movies in that area. You know?
Exactly.
Not the ones that I'm in, but in, you know, plenty of others.
That's all right.
Have been in them. I mean, dear Paul Cox, you know, glorious old Paul Cox, who's no longer with us, but he lived in a house in Middle Park or Albert Park, so right on the corner there, and things. Now it's been pulled down and there's a block of offices being built and everything. I ride past there daily and I go, that's where Paul Cox lived. Now, Paul had this wonderful ability. He was a Dutchman. He came to live here, and he made these very personal pictures. I'll never forget a picture he made, and I can't remember what it was called, but the late, great Sheila Florence was in it, and she played Lizzie Birdsworth, of course, in prison for years. But Sheila played this woman with Norman Kay, who was another favourite of Paul's. Norman and Sheila were playing, I think, husband and wife. There was a scene where Sheila took a bath, and she was just must have been in her 80s when she did this, or 70s and then, and she just took her clothes up and stepped into this bath and stuff, and it was so raw and beautiful. And we don't see directors like Paul much anymore, and I really wish we did. And you know, sadly, of course, Fred's getting a little bit old now to be wanting to do more pictures, and we've got the legacy of all of his work. But you know, people should look at the meticulous way Fred edited, and the meticulous way Brian Kavanagh edits. He's an editor by nature, you know. I mean, and a cinematographer. But I just think we could be doing a lot more rather than inviting a whole lot of Americans over. I think that'll change now, in a way. I think things will happen, and we may start looking at our own playground.
Yeah, hopefully, because a lot of stuff's all money market based. So hopefully, there just comes a time where Australia is big on the market, and we can do those films.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if anyone out there's got any ideas, you know, send them in.
Thank you again for joining us today, Michael. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
My pleasure.
Before you go, I would really like to ask you, would you like to join our weird mob in promoting Australian movies and making sure that it gets seen by a much broader...
Oh, yeah? What? Yeah, how much do you need?
No, nothing. All I need is your signature on these two movies.
Oh, really?
That I absolutely love.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
My pleasure. Where do you want me to sign them?
Just wherever.
Somewhere that can be seen?
Yeah, somewhere where we can have it seen.
Well, it'll
by
be better
everyone.
on that one.
Thank you for joining us on Weird Mob today. We've been thrilled to have Michael Carman talk to us about some of his career, some of the films he's done, and we hope that, like Michael said, we can encourage more people to do Australian-based films and just get their ideas out there. Good
Thanks,
night.
Jake.
No worries. Thank you very much.
All right.